You know, I just got to fuel up as we get ready to talk about all this gear in front of me and have all this crazy conversation. Do you know that Peak has desserts now? Desserts! They got desserts! Woohoo! Oh, I made it! That didn't happen in the last few takes. But yeah, brownie bites. Check them out. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about all of the gear that I've got here in front of me. And it was funny, as I was pulling out all of this stuff today to share this video, I was like, whew. Okay, these are not necessarily small gear items. This is kind of a lot to discuss, but these are gear items that have either been great or not so great that I've been using here in 2021. The not so great items doesn't necessarily mean that they're fails or that I haven't enjoyed them. It's either been first impressions have not been as awesome as I expected, and we'll talk about it as we get going through this. But one of these pieces of gear, you guys are probably gonna say, I told you so. We'll just wait for it. But let's talk about the first piece of gear. And that is going to be the pack that I've been carrying for 2021. And this is the Through from Waymark Gear Company. Yes, I work for Waymark, if you don't already know that. And so I made a custom Through. This is a 40-liter X-Pack backpack. And just having a custom backpack like this that I sewed myself, if you can believe that. I just love it. It's like my baby. Are you allowed to have a crush on a piece of gear? Because if I do, it's on this Waymark Through. Let's talk about the first not so great. And this is where the I told you so conversation comes in. Let me give a little disclaimer. It's not been a fail. It's not been a fail. Yes. The Sawyer Micro. What the heck? If you remember, I was talking about this early on as the sole filter that I'm going to be using here in 2021. And yes, that's what I've been using. And no, it hasn't necessarily failed on me, but I've not enjoyed it as much as I hoped I would. And just like, we're going for it, we're going to use it. It has slowed to not a failure point. It's still like runs water through it just fine. It back flushes just fine. I've even like soaked it in vinegar and everything. But there's been a significant decrease in the flow of this that I am struggling to bring back, even with really aggressive back flushing on it. We'll see by the end of the year through a full fall season in the desert, we'll see if this has completely failed and stopped like a lot of people have experienced. And then we'll say, yes, it was a failure or it was not a failure. Let's talk about another not so great item that I haven't had a chance to get a lot of use out of, but the reason it's falling into the not so great category is I just don't know how it fits within my system. And in a backpacking setting, this Grail water filter bottle it's different. It's something that I have been looking at for quite some time. And, you know, I just don't know how it fits within my backpacking system. And honestly, I don't think I'm ever really going to take this backpacking. It's kind of large, it's bulky and heavy. So maybe for a day hiking situation where I know I'm gonna be next to water and I don't wanna have to carry water with me and I can get access to this at any time. I mean, the really cool thing about this filter and this purifier is that it is a purifier. It will remove viruses and bacteria and protozoa, everything from your water source. And so it's great in that aspect, but it's just kind of like bulky and I don't know. We'll see how this works in the long run. For the minimal amount of use that I've had out of it, it's not my favorite right now, but it has potential to be a really great option for the future because once I figure out how it fits within my particular system. So guys, let's talk about outdoor vitals here for a second. What has changed? Wow. And I'm not like doing that to be dramatic or to just like, oh my gosh, look at outdoor vitals. But seriously, in the last year, this company has been putting out some really impressive stuff. I mean, the shorts that I'm wearing, these Sea2 shorts, these have become my favorite hiking shorts. What we're talking about is the Ventus Jacket or the Ventus hoodie. This thing is rad. And I have basically been using this as my sole mid layer for the trips that I've been going on. And I love the active breathability aspect of it with the perforated underarms in the armpit, and the weight of it is incredible and it packs down super tiny. The things that I do not like about this, I wish that it had a drawstring elastic around the hem. The back of it also sits a little too low for me. Not a huge deal, but I also wish that there was a zipper pocket here on the front. It's just convenient to have that, and it doesn't add so much extra weight that it's a deal breaker, I think, for a lot of people. But very impressed with the Ventus, and I can't wait for the one that I purchased on the Kickstarter to come and see what changes they've made between this sample that they shared with me and the production model that I purchased on their Kickstarter. Okay, let's talk about 3 different shelters. Well, 4, but we'll start with 3 different tents that I've been using here in 2021. The first is really great. Guys, this tarp tent, double rainbow lithium, is incredible. Like, I have considered several times, do we just get rid of every single tent on this shelf behind me and just solely use this shelter? That has been like a real consideration of mine. It's not gonna happen, obviously, because I love testing gear. I love checking out new gear items, but this tarp tent is incredible. I'm really glad that I ended up making the investment for this. Let's talk about 2 shelters that have been less than ideal for me this year. And let's first talk about a brand new redesign, maybe not a redesign, but option for the Fly Creek UL2 from Big Agnes. Big Agnes, like, they have been incredible with their shelters. Like, I've got a tiger wall and I've also got a copper spur. I love this copper spur. This is fantastic. And you've seen me using that in several trips, but this is the new solution die from Big Agnes. So it's a lot of like environmentally focused kind of things that they've put into it. This design does not really fit the kind of conditions that have any kind of wind attached to it. Like, wind and this tent do not work well together. I'm a little frustrated with like that aspect of it, and I'm considering, like, do I even want to use this in the future? And I'll probably keep it, use it a little bit more, do a review for you guys, but I'm not as impressed with this as I hoped I would be, especially when compared to this. Now, a tent that I have not even tried to use yet, but I'm going to share with you my experience with it, just to like create a comparison of lower budget items that don't maybe have as great of quality control aspects as you get from this Big Agnes or from Tarp Tent. This is the Nature Hike Cloud Up 2 UL. It's a pretty lightweight, kind of basic, budget-friendly tent. You can see I still have the tags on it. That's because when I first set this up in my yard, it was already falling apart. Like, there was the piece that holds the vent out at the back of the tent, it fell off, like from the factory. What's up with that? Like, a tent should not do that. And so when I emailed Nature Hike, they were like, oh yeah, that's a bummer. Not sure what you really want us to do, but I don't know, like, I was pretty turned off by that. I mean, it's a little thing and it could probably be easily fixed, but it's basically, I don't want to use this because it's not, I don't trust it, if I'm being totally frank. Okay, next shelter system. This is something that I used very recently. In fact, the last trip that I went on, and this is the Hammock Gear Wander Luxe Hammock Kit. This tarp, this Dyneema tarp, is fantastic. This is a tried and true piece of gear for them. They've been doing tarps for a long time. Really like that. I guess what I'm trying to say out of the not so great, and if you saw my recent video about am I a hammock camper now, this hammock, really cool. I've enjoyed it. It was my first time in a hammock overnight that is a system like this. I consider it my true first time hammock camping. What I didn't enjoy about it, and I'm still trying to figure out, I got a lot of suggestions, so you don't necessarily need to put in the comments any suggestions here, but I got to get rid of the daisy chains. I've got to figure out a different suspension system, whether that is the beetle buckle that a lot of people gave suggestion for in that last video that I was talking about, but the daisy chains, like I understand the purpose of it, and I need to change it. Really excited about this, and I'm planning to do more trips because as it gets closer into colder weather, I've got the top quilt and the under quilt, the incubator, and the what's it called? The burrow. Yeah, the burrow. I've got those ready to go into that like 20-degree temp rating. And so we're gonna use the hammock. And I've got a video coming soon talking about kind of my first impressions of things that I learned from my first experience hammock camping. I got a couple more pieces of gear to talk about, and this is in the great list. In fact, I'm planning to do a video that talks about comparing this Sea2Summit Etherlite XT with the Nemo Tensor insulated and talking about really which one is better. So let me know in the comments if you are interested in a video talking about that, because these two pads are awesome. Like the Tensor is sold out and has been sold out for a long time. And this Etherlite, I mean, you can obviously see the size difference between the two, but this Etherlite at 4 inches thick with like the insulation in it and everything. Really, really psyched about this pad and I don't know, I think I have 6 nights on it so far. Very comfortable, very nice to sleep on. I've had just a great experience with it, and I am flirting with the idea that this pad is probably more comfortable than the Nemo. Like, we're just gonna put that out there, but wait for the video that I'm gonna put out that compares these two because I have been loving this Sea2Summit Etherlite. Fantastic. Okay, so one more piece of gear to talk about that is more car camping focused, obviously. I'm not gonna take this on a backpacking trip, but you guys know that I do a lot of car camping trips. I purchased a new vehicle this year that is just making it a way easier, more convenient way to get out and do more car camping instead of the kind of junky sedan that I had. And so because of that, I've been looking at ways to just enhance the car camping experience. And at one point, IceCo, who makes this fridge, a 12-volt fridge, reached out to me and said, hey, would you be interested in checking out a fridge? And I said, yeah, I would actually. I've been looking at getting one of these. And so, yes, IceCo did share this with me, and I've been able to take it out on one trip and use it a couple different times. And are you kidding me? This thing is awesome. It fits perfect in the back of my Jeep, and it's the right size. This is the JP30, and I gotta say, this is one of the game changer pieces of gear that I have acquired this year. I'm very excited about it. There are some aspects to it that I don't necessarily love about it, but it is so nice to have a functioning fridge that runs off of a battery generator. It's so nice. I can plug this in with the 12-volt adapter that'll plug into the 12-volt in my Jeep and run and just create the cooling that you would expect from a fridge. But then when I'm at camp, I plug it into this EcoFlow River Pro 700 watt-hour battery generator, and over a weekend, so I took this out on a weekend trip with my girls, and this fridge ran the entire weekend off of this one battery. That's incredible. From a car camping standpoint, this is awesome. So anyway, guys, that is the gear that is great and not so great that I've been using in 2021 so far. Curious your thoughts on those things that I've shared. And yeah, that's it for today. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching as always. You're awesome. Thank you for the support, for commenting, liking, sharing, all of that. You guys are great. We'll catch you on the next video because I'm out of breath. See you later.